each day that my students enter the classroom, they have 3 to 5 vocabulary words on the board, and that's partly because of research, and what research says that really that's like a preferential amount of vocabulary to expose students to within a given class period. But also I find that that's what my students really can handle. They really cannot handle more than 5 words and explicitly taught vocabulary, and then actually be responsible for learning them, and acquiring them, and then actually using them. So that amount of words works for my kids. And I don't just want them to have exposure to the words, I actually want for them to use the words. And it's twofold. I want them to see the word and then create a sentence with that word, in part because I want them to have some sort of ownership with that. I want them to create something that makes it more, come alive for them and more personal to them, so that it's something that, they feel, like invested in. But even, more than that, I found that at the beginning of this year and at the beginning of last year, when I was exposing them to the vocabulary, and I was doing the flashcards with them, and then we would do quizzes, and we would do multiple choice things, it was very easy for them to have this recall with the word, but then not be able to produce a sentence using that word. So my students, and a lot of it comes from this fear of sounding uneducated, and this fear of sounding like they didn't know what they were doing, or they couldn't speak English, or that they weren't intelligent. But my students have a tendency to go back to what they're comfortable with. So instead of using that Tier 2 vocabulary or the academic vocabulary, they really were falling back to the Tier 1 words or talking around, And that was, it was frustrating for me, because I really wanted them to just grasp that new vocabulary and incorporate it in their writing or their speech and use it and go with it. But it was also frustrating because they weren't learning the content vocabulary that they needed to for assessments, and even just for whatever activities we were doing, to make it more engaging for them, and also to prove to me what they were capable of doing and what they were actually retaining. So by having them write sentences, and by having them write short answers, and by having them write essays using those words, I know that they know the word and they know how to use it and they know what it means, and then B, I'm actually making them use it and having them feel more comfortable with it. So it's a comfort thing and a knowledge thing too.